It is now my pleasure to welcome back Dean Alexandre, who will introduce our commencement speaker, Lauren M. Cherry.
Thank you, Provost Callahan. Lauren M. Cherry, JD 2010, is a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General Corps, where she has served for the past 13 years. She is also an adjunct professor at Georgetown University Law Center and a member of the 2023-2024 class of White House Fellows. She is placed at the Central Intelligence Agency. Cherry began her Navy career serving as a defense attorney and then a prosecutor. Later, she advised U.S. and foreign forces on counter-piracy, maritime security, and counterterrorism operations in the Middle East. Cherry has also advised senior Department of Defense officials on cyber, space, and other sensitive military operations and has served as Flag Aide to the Chief of Naval Operations. Cherry teaches at Georgetown University Law Center and is a fellow at Georgetown Center on National Security. She also served on the advisory committee to the American Bar Association Standing Committee on Law and National Security. A former child law fellow, Lauren Cherry earned a Juris Doctor and certificates in child and family law, as well as trial and appellate advocacy certificate from the Loyola University Chicago School of Law in 2010. She holds a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the Washington University in St. Louis, a Master of Laws in National Security Law from the Georgetown University Law Center, and a Master of Arts with a concentration in Homeland Security and Homeland Defense from the University Naval War College. I am pleased and thrilled to welcome Lauren Cherry back to Loyola for this incredible occasion.
Thank you, Dean. Good morning to President Reed, Provost Callahan, Dean Alexandre, esteemed faculty and administrators, honored guests, family and friends, and most importantly, to the graduating class of 2024. Thank you for inviting me here today to celebrate this momentous occasion with you all. I have a few words of advice to share with the graduating class, but before that, let's take a moment to acknowledge the incredible accomplishment that we mark here today. So please, class of 2024, how about a round of applause for you and for your friends and family who helped you to reach this point. The world is waiting to see what great things you will do with your legal degrees. Your paths are wide open now, and I am confident Loyola has prepared you well for what lays ahead, as it did me. You see, 14 years ago, I sat where you are now, a newly minted graduate of Loyola University Chicago School of Law. I was anxious about sitting for the bar and embarking on my legal career as a lawyer and as a naval officer. And I was excited about the adventure that lay ahead. Now, since that time, I have come to know my share of successes and failures as both a lawyer and a service member. I've won in the courtroom, and I have advised warfighters who have won on the battlefield. I've received promotions and medals for my accomplishments, and I've had some incredible and often surreal experiences. But I have also lost. I've lost motions and trials. I've lost out on assignments for which I competed. I've lost arguments, sometimes losing my patience and temper along the way when I should have kept a cool head. And I have lost friends and colleagues to disease, to accidents, and to war. Looking back, the highs and lows of the past 14 years have taught me more than I ever expected or imagined. And today, as you prepare to embark on your own legal careers, I want to share with you the most important lesson my career has taught me. It is the one virtue that will set you apart in whatever you do. This virtue is not a subject you will find on the bar, nor a skill that employers ask about. It's also not a talent that people boast about. In fact, it's more likely to go unnoticed and be misunderstood. But the good news is that this specific virtue is one each of you already possess. It merely requires cultivation. This virtue will make you stronger and braver and more resilient in any endeavor you undertake. It is a virtue that will allow you to navigate difficult spaces, solving the complex problems, and fostering the important relationships. This virtue is grace. The word grace means unearned favor. We show grace when we are kind, compassionate, and generous to one who hasn't reciprocated. And if we grace can be a compelling motivator and a precious gift. And if we commit to practice it, it will be abundant. Grace is not reserved for any one gender or religion or political party or any other category by which we might distinguish ourselves. That's because grace reflects the giver. It is our gift to the world because each of us has the power to extend grace to others. And I am confident you will find that the practice of law, when it is refined by grace, is a powerful tool. Because when we act with grace, we ensure the best of the law. We make the law responsive to humanity. We breathe life into the law so that it is not merely a set of rules by which we govern ourselves, but a living covenant among all people for the shared enjoyment of our world. In a profession often characterized by conflict and contention, it is easy to lose sight of the human element. And yet it is the human element that the law was created to serve. Therefore, it is in moments of tension and disagreement that grace becomes most essential to the law. For grace is the embodiment of humility, empathy, and understanding, qualities for which our profession yearns. Grace is what sets great lawyers apart from merely competent ones. It is the mark of true excellence. Now, because Loyola has educated all of us in the Jesuit tradition, the concept of grace is not foreign to us, but it can feel foreign as you navigate your careers. There will be times when you feel overwhelmed and disheartened at what you see around you. There may be times when you sit across a conference table from someone whose views you find wholly inconsistent with your own, or when it's your job to persuade someone who won't show you the simple courtesy of remembering your name. When this happens, take a breath and resist the urge to be drawn into that dark place. Instead, reframe the moment as an opportunity to show grace. You see, it's easy to extend grace when you've won your case and your pride is intact. Showing grace is much harder when faced with difficult people and difficult situations. But hard times are fertile grounds for grace. They are the soil that yields its sweetest fruit. It is in hard times that grace allows us to see one another, to respect one another, and to know one another. Grace is the lens through which we understand the hurt and insecurity and fear that gives rise to hate. It is the armor that shields us from hate, and it is the medicine that heals hate. Grace compels us to respect others when we would rather repay a wrong. Grace drives us to compassion when we must hold others or ourselves accountable. Through grace, we maintain our integrity, remembering that our commitment as lawyers to uphold noble ideals like justice and liberty sometimes mean our own self-interest take a back seat. Through grace, we are able to stand in the gap, not just building bridges between two distant sides, but actually becoming the bridge, bringing those sides together. Because when we show grace in these hard times, its force is magnetic, radiating so powerfully that others are drawn to us and to be like us. So what does it mean to act with grace? Well, practicing law with grace means approaching every interaction with civility and a kind heart, even in the face of adversity. It means choosing not to assume the worst at every slight and accepting that sometimes you don't get a fair shake. Practicing law with grace means advocating fiercely for your clients while upholding principles of justice and fairness. It means recognizing the humanity in both your colleagues and your adversaries and treating them with the same decency and courtesy with which we hope to be treated, even in our lowest moments. Now, I have one last point before I finish. I want you to know that there is room for grace in every office, in every boardroom, and in every courtroom in which you might find yourselves. And so this call to act with grace is not directed to your neighbor. It is for each one of you. The world needs your grace, whether you work in big law or a boutique firm. whether you find yourselves in the private sector or nonprofit, whether in academia or government service. There will be opportunities to demonstrate grace daily. And as you embark on this next chapter of your lives, I commission each of you to make grace a guiding principle in your legal practice. Strive to be not only skilled advocates, but also compassionate counselors, sage advisors, and honorable stewards of the law. So congratulations, graduates. Go forth with courage, conviction, and above all, grace. The world awaits your contributions, and I'm certain you will make us proud.